Hey, guys and gals. On this particular video, we're going to be talking about weak drums, using pre-effects in your dolls and why you should never, ever do that, and normalizing your shows to give to sponsors or bands after the event. Now, I'm up here on Sweetwater. They've got some great articles up here. They're talking about your recordings. They're talking about your recording session, but this also applies to live venues, okay? Before you even consider running that microphone into your X32 or any mixer for that matter, you've got to answer 4 questions. Are you using the proper mic? Is it placed correctly? What type of heads are you using? And most importantly, are they properly tuned? Just like you would make sure your guitar or your piano was tuned, you need to treat your drums the same way. Remember, guys, it's always the little steps that add up, okay? Now, let me show you a neat little graphic. If you're into the drums, you need to go up there. You can download it, look at it, make an educated decision, all right? And here we are at the Ultimate Drumhead Guide, okay? Now, this is put out by drumheadauthority.com. You can look at it right up here on the right-hand side, right there, okay? They go over clear heads, coated heads, control dots, control rings, felt strips, inlay rings. All this information is at your disposal, okay? It's a great guide. So, like I said, even for your live performances, this is going to give you kind of an insight on what they could possibly sound like when they're tuned properly and the sticks are in the hands of a professional. Okay? So let's go ahead and jump over to Reaper, and we're going to look at a kick track. Okay, guys, and here we are. So what I've done is basically I'm playing this kick track on channel 2. There's my output right there. Even though it says track number 1, I can simply just reverse these. And then we're going to record it into track number 1. So let's just go ahead and play this and listen to what we're dealing with. Okay. Now everybody freaks out because they say, man, it comes into my DAW. It is so low. Why is that? Well, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to. Okay. Behringer absolutely did the proper thing. Your tap point, whether it's or your signal path, with the XLRs to 1/4-inch inputs, any inputs going into any X32 mixer is going to be your input, your preamp, straight to your card out. No FX, no gates, no nothing, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. Okay, so this negative 32.3 lofts is just exactly where it needs to be. Now I can sit here and normalize this, and I'm going to use negative 23 lofts just as a starting point. Okay, when I do that, I want you to look at this fader right over here on the left, okay, on the kick. Watch it jump up. You see that? Okay, now if we kick this down, it's raised it by 9.32 dBs. And again, that is without any clipping. And this is what everybody was saying on the pre-FX, okay? Adjust it in your DAW. And that's incorrect. If you clip it, if you embed any effects in there, you can't get them out. And we're going to do this as an example here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and take this FX off here. And we're going to, over here when I tap record now, as you can see, you'll see by the meters, I'm going to put this back where it was. Let me unselect that. Okay. This is going to represent, it's going to just simply mimic. Okay. Right here. I don't need to record the kick. And watch what happens. Okay. And you say, well, Dane, I'd never do that. And I'm here to tell you, I get so many files and I simply contact them back and say, I can't use them. You need to go back in and re-record them. Well, we can't get back into the studio. Well, the guy at the studio should have told you not to record this with this type of FX going into it, okay, on your raw files. Well, he did, but we figured we knew best, and that's what happens, okay? Or you're sitting there at your studio and you do this, or you're at a live show and you do this, okay? Because when we zoom in here, guys, and I did a video on the 40-bit floating system inside the X32s, and it is impossible to clip that audio once you can manipulate it, but once it leaves that X32 environment, it's clipped. And right there it is. Okay? You see where it looks like somebody ran over it with a lawnmower? That file is clipped. Now, I can pull this fader down over here all day long. It does not take that clip out of the audio. Okay? And I cannot go in there and take the reverb out of it. Okay? I'm not going to go through all that. I simply decline it. Say, okay, I can't use it. When you get something I can work with, give me a holler back. And more professionals are doing this because we've got the work. We have people that are sending us tracks that are done professionally. Okay? And when I'm saying professionally, guys, I'm not talking pristine. I'm talking about raw tracks with, 2 seconds of room tone on the head, 2 seconds on the tail so we can clean it up if we need to. We've got to have something to work with. We don't want them clipped. We want 6 dBs of headroom. Okay? You see right here where I pull this down? Somewhere in this area? Even 3 dBs is about the max. Now we can come in here. That's your headroom from here to right there. Okay? That's the headroom. So now we can come in and do what we need to do. So we can sculpt this audio. But when we get it and there is absolutely no headroom to work with, you've tied our hands. Okay? Don't blame the engineer. All right? That's why you never use pre-FX for anything coming into your DAW. Okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this track. We don't need it. And I'm going to leave this FX off here. Everything is set back the way it was. I've got it looped. And let's go ahead and jump over to X32 Edit. Okay, guys, so here we are over in X32 Edit. Okay, so when we come over and click on the kick, we're in the config. You see it's coming in on card 2. On my routing over here, I've simply come to the user route. I've assigned this to mix bus 1. That out number 1 right there is the card out. And I've got it going to mix bus 1 post fader. So if we come over to mix bus, you'll see Reaper in. I've got it labeled right here. And the reason you don't see any signal is because I simply have it muted. As you can see now, we have the signal. Okay. Now, what were we talking about? We've already seen what happens when you sit there and take something in pre-FX. So at this point, we're going to move simply over to the live. Okay, we're going live. Now, when I talked about being able to bring in and fudge on this a little bit, we've got some right here. We can add a little bit of boost to this. We can get that input up around that -10, -12. Listen to it now. Okay, guys, if you're not wearing headphones right now, you need to, because there's going to be a lot of subtle differences here. Okay? And you're going to have to be able to hear those, because it's all these little things that we're going to do that's going to make this drum stand out. Okay? Now you hear the snare in the background? You hear it go away? Okay. Look at our signal here. All we want to do is bring this up to line level all the way through this system. We want to keep this as even as we can. Because when we adjust with our faders right here, look what happens when I raise it. Now notice I have not went past this 5 mark on this, on a lot of mixers you'll see these scales here. And that's what they're telling you. Now, when I say I'm mixing close to unity, I'm not messing with my gains. I haven't touched my input gain whatsoever, okay? But now we've got this boost we can use as we're blending in the mix. Okay, so let's put this back over here close to unity. Now let's go over and look at our compression. We can also add some boost here if we needed to. But keep in mind, if we add it here, we cannot add it here because this is what's going to happen. Now we're clipped. Again, keep these signals as close as you can. When we compress it like this, all we're doing is knocking off those transients. We're bringing those down. We're compressing them. Okay, so see, we're still close right here. We like that. That's what we want. Now listen. If you notice right over here now, the output is a little bit higher because we've added this boost in right here. And guys, I say this all the time. It's no different than working in your DAW. You've got to come up here and you've got to play with these settings. Okay? So I'm going to push that back. I'm going to unmute it. I'm going to play around with it a little bit. And this is going to be with everything off. Okay? If you're going to be running that board, then you need to do your job. I mean, guys, it's just that simple. We get questions up there all the time. Can you send me a scene? Well, not really. I don't know what your equipment you're using. I don't know what heads you're using. I don't know what amps you're using. I don't know what mics you're using. I don't know what your setup is. I don't know the venue you're playing at. I don't know anything. Okay? Now, I can send you a scene to where when you plug something into input number 1, it's going to come out of output number 1. Okay? Or I can set up your in-ear monitors for you if you tell me how many you've got, things like that. That's simple. Okay? We're talking about using the X32 for live shows as well as recording. Now, if you're wondering on the RTA, this was asked the other day, I can switch to any channel and that RTA stays on. Okay? It's a real simple process. Come over to Utility, RTA, up here where it says Select Channel. selected channel, the RTA source right here, selected channel. I could do the solo priority. If I come over and solo a channel, then the RTA would come on. If I come over here kick and I want to see it. Okay, as you can see, it's overriding the mute. It's because the way I have it set up in my monitors. Left and right after fader listen, or fader level, I should say. Solo, follow, select. There's all kinds of options you can check on this, guys. Okay, to set it up the way that you need it. As you can see, when you solo it out, it does get louder. You can set the dim. Okay, that way you don't blow your ears out when you're soloing a bus or something. So let's go ahead and jump over. I'm going to load some tracks up into Reaper, and we're going to do some recording with the USB built-in recorder. Okay, guys, here we are back over in X32 Edit. I'm going to bring up the recorder. We're going to go over to the USB recorder here. If I unmute this, we're going to see what our input level is. Now, we are using 32 tracks here. It does have the doubling effect. This is another very important reason why you keep your input levels at the proper level. Okay? Because even though they're set correctly, and even though we've got our main over here at Unity, which is exactly where we need to be. Okay? I want you to look at my fader position up here. Look at these lines coming through here compared to that 0. Okay? You'll see this all the way across. So when we come back, let's go ahead and bring up the recorder again. I'm going to unmute it, and you're going to see what the input level is now. Now, I'm sourcing the main left, main right, post fader. These are the options that we have, pre-EQ, post-EQ. Okay, pre-fader. So I want to get as much of this in as I can. So I'm simply going to record post-fader what's coming out of the left and right mains. Okay, and that's where that is. Now over here, the record trim, we are not going to mess with this. If we need to, we can pad it back a negative 6 dBs, or we can raise it depending on what we want. But remember now, we're talking about being able to be done with the set, okay, with your show. Bands will want to possibly buy these from you, okay? So you want to get them up to those levels that they can listen to it, and this is how you do it, okay? So if I release this, watch this input level. Okay, so we know our input level's good through here. So I'm going to hit record on this. We're going to take this file from the thumb drive. We're going to put it back into Reaper. And this is what I was talking about before. Okay, you've got a bunch of thumb drives with you. You've got the end of the show. When you do one set and that band goes on break, you're the mixing engineer. Okay, you can take that one thumb drive out, load it into your computer, use your DAW to bring that file up to the proper volume it needs to be. And then at the end of the show, when everybody else is hanging out and jaw-jacking, okay, you're still on the clock. So you would be taking these thumb drives and you would be transferring these sets over to the thumb drives. You would hand them to the people that want them. You can do this for promoters. You can do this for sponsors. You can do this for the band members that may possibly contact you back and say, hey, how much you going to charge me to mix and master that set? Okay? So we want to be able to give them something they can listen to. So this is what we're going to do here. This is the process. And once I finish this, I'll see you back over in Reaper. Okay, guys, on a side note, that kick drum you were listening to is the same kick drum that we used over in Reaper for the example when we were starting. So I'm going to go ahead, and once you hit stop, very, very important, okay, you must wait for that USB light over top of that USB drive to go off completely, okay? If you don't, you're going to corrupt your file, okay? So I'll see you over in Reaper. Okay, guys, so here we are back over in Reaper, okay? First thing we'll do is insert the file that we have on the thumb drive. I'm going to come down here, right here it is, and right there is our file. Okay. Now, your DAW may be different. However you do it, it's up to you. Basically, this is what you're going to do. In Reaper, you simply double click it, and you're going to hit normalize. Okay, when you hit normalize, we want to give it to them without clipping, of course. So we're going to go 0.1, and we're going to say OK. And when we do that, it's going to jump this up. It'll show you what it did. Now, from that recording, all it did was it raised it 0.41 dBs. Okay? Right there. That's what that's showing you. So if we play this back now, it will not be clipping. If we go up here and we check the loudness, and let's analyze the selected track. As you can see, we're at a negative 12.9 LUFS. Okay, if we were to put this on social media, on YouTube, Spotify, these other platforms, they are going to compress this because it's too loud. For somebody to just sit there and take and listen to, there's no problem whatsoever. Okay, your true peak is a negative 0.1 dBs, and you are absolutely handing off as professional as a recording as your experience will allow you to do. Okay? So if I come up here and just for example, I'm going to show you if I want to render this one file entitled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because I haven't cleared out my desktop, we're going to do it in 44.1. In a wave, I'm going to say we don't need the tail there. We're just going to put it on the desktop and render one file. And there it is. Okay, there's our LUFS. Negative 13.0, true peak 0.1, absolutely no clips whatsoever. All right? Guys, there's a reason we do what we do. 10 engineers in the same room, 10 different ways of doing something. No doubt. 100% totally acceptable. But there are some things that you must follow, you must do when it comes to digital audio. Okay? Remember, do not use pre-FX coming into your DAWs. If you have a problem with it, go find the problem. Fix it at the source. You'll hear this all the time. Well, just go ahead and record it, man. We'll fix it in post-op. Okay? We'll fix it inside the DAW. If you have that mentality, then honestly, you need to get some more experience. Fix it at the source. Okay? Take care. God bless. And we are out of here.